Welcome to Unpacking Peanuts, the podcast where three cartoonists take an in-depth look at the greatest comic strip of all time, Peanuts by Charles M. Schulz.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. It's a new season of Unpacking Peanuts, and it's going to be so fetch. We're doing Mean Girls. I'll be your host for the proceedings. My name's Jimmy Gownley. I'm also a cartoonist. I did things like Amelia Rules, and you can find all my new comics over there on Substack at Gville Comics. And joining me as always are my pals, co-hosts, and fellow cartoonists. He's a playwright and a composer, both for the band Complicated People as well as for this very podcast. He's the co-creator of the original comic book price guide, the original editor for Amelia Rules, and the creator of such great strips as Strange Attractors, A Gathering of Spells, and Tangled River. It's Michael Cohen.
Say hey.
And he's the executive producer and writer of Mystery Science Theater 3000, a former vice president of Archie Comics, and the creator of the Instagram sensation Sweetest Beasts. It's Harold Buchholz.
Hello.
And keeping us out of trouble and making sure everything runs smoothly, it's our producer and editor, Liz Sumner.
Howdy.
Guys, we're finally going to do Mean Girls. Michael, I know this is something you've been looking forward to. Are you excited?
Yep. Well, I was a big fan. These were some of my favorite Peanut strips. And I was honored to be asked to pick them. So I picked a whole bunch of them for the
Well, don't be too honored because I just got sick of picking strips. So
I realized there's no honor involved, but
no honor involved.
I wanted to.
So tell us about where did you get this affection for these characters in these early strips? Take us back to young Michael.
Young Michael probably would have been exposed to the earliest of these when I was reading the books. They were the original books that came out. And yeah, I don't recall seeing this type of female character. Of course, you know, young boys don't particularly like girls, so this didn't want to have much to do with them. So this sort of like backed up my belief that girls are horrible things.
Well, how do you feel about that, Liz?
39 years, and I've kind of gotten used to it.
Well, when I was 6 and she was 2, I would have thought she was a pain in the butt.
I was really cute.
I do think that perhaps that boy-girl dichotomy is less these days. In early childhood, anyway. It's worse probably everywhere else in the world. But
yeah,
interesting.
Harold, this is like the edgiest material I can imagine you consuming. Like,
I don't know. I mean, there were bad girls. I mean, little Lulu was not a princess. This was kind of a new take on female kid characters for me. There were other comic book and strip female characters who were problems, maybe like to their parents. I think of little Lulu, maybe little Iodine. But the fact that these girls were just viciously putting down Charlie Brown all the time, I found extremely amusing. But the fact is that they didn't start out this way. Patty was actually started the same time as Charlie Brown, and Shermie from the first strip was kind of a bit of a tomboy, so she wasn't adverse to slugging somebody if it came to it, but she was basically a nice kid. Violet was introduced a bit later, and she was kind of a love interest for Charlie Brown. This is the pigtail Violet, who was very sweet and cute and made really good mud pies for people to eat. And then she transformed. Now, I don't have the actual strip where they became mean. I started in 1953, and I read up through the 1950s, and it turned out that the period of these strips was pretty short. It was like 3 years.
These strips, meaning the when they were mean to Charlie Brown?
The Patty and Violet strips. Mm-hmm. And after 1956, they became more and more rare. And I'm guessing I don't seem to recall any in the 60s. I think Schultz thought it played itself out. And after 56, they were kind of just other supporting characters. They didn't have a whole lot of personality.
That's interesting because that Christmas special, which you haven't seen, does have at least a few moments where Violet's being kind of snotty toward Charlie Brown in 1965. I'm wondering if that was like a well-remembered element or if he was going back that far and remembering that version of her.
Well, I didn't check the 60s because it seemed like there were hardly any strips at all in 58, 59 featuring the two girls together.
Well, maybe we should check Joshua's detailed notes about what strips were used in the Christmas special to see what year the Violet strips you're referring to are.
Okay. But anyway, for the episode 1, I ran through every strip from 53 through 59, and I picked the Patty and Violet being together and being nasty to Charlie Brown, and occasionally to other characters. So that's what I've got. Episode 2 was going to focus on Patty and Violet appearing separately over that period. And then I'm going to go back and see what Lucy was doing. She's not as cruel as these kids. I mean, I think Lucy, even though she's not a nice person, I think it sort of had it had good intentions. She thought she was helping, but she wasn't. But
there's a larger project with Lucy. Yeah. Especially as opposed to just slinging put downs.
Yeah, these kids are, they're out for blood, basically. I can't think of any other way to describe it. There's no justification for this, except kids tend to feel better about themselves when they team up to put someone else down.
What do you mean, kids?
Adults would never act this way.
Yeah, never.
They would pretend they liked him.
Well, Harold, what are your thoughts on the Patty and Violet scenario?
I think I may have said this before, but when I was growing up from the age of 4 to 11, I was in upstate New York in the Rochester area. And my memories of growing up there was that kids would tell you what they thought of you. This did not seem unusual to me. And that was a hallmark of growing up, for me, because that was just the culture. And then I moved to mid-Missouri and Columbia when I was 11. And everybody was nice to you in Columbia, but just as many people didn't like you. You just didn't know which ones they were. And that made me angry because, I didn't have the social skills. I was upset because I couldn't tell. Yeah. And that made life incredibly hard and put me incredibly on edge for the first few years I was there. Once I figured it out, it was a very pleasant place to live because people weren't being mean to your face, Right. But there was that transition that was hard. But the time I was reading these strips, which would have included these early Peanut strips with Patty and Violet, this would have been my Rochester era. So this kind of resonated, I think, with me seeing this because it was, something I was kind of living.
That's really interesting. When I was reading these before we recorded, I was thinking maybe an easy way to think about this is that Alan Moore thing where he said when he was tasked with taking over a new comic book, he would just pick one element and change that, and that would open up all these new possibilities. And I don't know if this was conscious with Schultz, but I think a way to look at it is he took something like Jiggs and Maggie, and what he changed about it was their children. And it's such a small thing, but it makes it so much more powerful because you can imagine a million things that Jiggs did to deserve, getting a browbeaten from Maggie.
Well, that's the other thing. Jiggs deserves it in a way, in the sense that he's doing something wrong, at least in Maggie's eyes, right? And
and
probably
Charlie
in our
Brown
eyes too.
Is just like Michael said, like he's just living, and these guys, they're out for blood, trying to hurt him. It seems like and I think it comes from just that it's so much crueler seeming because it's kids.
It's casual too.
Yeah.
I have a question about, has it changed over the last 50 years? Because, I mean, there's movies of Heathers and Mean Girls and focus on girls being cruel, particularly to other girls.
To other girls, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about modern young children.
Nobody does.
Okay.
Here's what I know about the youths. I saw an actual youth in the wild say 6'7". I couldn't believe it.
How old was this
believe
person?
it. A college, because I was picking up Anna from
And
school.
it wasn't ironic?
No, it was
Wow.
great. It was thrilling. I'm like, wow, an actual youth.
It's like in
Did
Bird
you have
Watcher.
your camera?
Yes, exactly.
I've now heard the warble-throated nuthouse.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I do think I think it's changed because gender roles have changed so much. And the 50s was so codified in people's minds, at least. And this is kind of brushing up against it, which also is part of what makes it feel modern, I think, is that, okay, I mean, yeah, yes, obviously Patty and Violet are mean, but they're also smart, self-possessed, not taking any guff from anybody. So that felt very modern, I'm sure, at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's possible that he was seeing this in the family dynamics.
Well, sure.
And then when the kids grew out of it, he stopped using it.
Well, that's true, especially if because the older sister or the oldest kid was a girl, and she would possibly be the one that would be talking down to the younger ones. That could very well be true.
I think he's also processing being married.
Yeah.
You know, he was a guy pretty much on his own. His parents were not super effusive, I guess.
Right.
And now he's married a very strong woman, and she's got opinions. I'm sure they're butting heads on things, and that's something that's just new to him. So I'm assuming that's part of what's being processed here. And it gets, I think, more nuanced as we go along. And I think Lucy does kind of take on that role where she's not doing it to just be mean. It's just she's got a lot of things going on, and it's a more complex character, which would make sense if you are getting, if that person is inspiring you to do these stories, it's going to get a little more nuanced as you get to know that person. It's like, well, she's not just being mean.
Yeah.
There's something else here.
It'll be interesting to compare Violet and Patty on their own, and what the meanness looks like versus how it is when they're a team. Because I
think that you're probably going to find the worst of it is when they're a team, and that again is human nature.
Yep.
You know, 2 or 3 kids picking on one kid when if it was just 2 kids together, it might have been no problem at all.
Yep.
I wonder if too, the thing with Lucy is, and I agree with all of that, but I wonder if also from like a practical point of view, it's like he puts a new girl character in, and now he's like, well, I can't do the same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do, or he maybe finds himself doing the same thing again and realizes, oh, I have to make some changes, or I'll just be repeating myself. And, it comes up with so many things for Lucy. Like the only thing I can think of really is that, we know the girls play on the baseball team, but you rarely see them playing. And we know that Violet's good at mud pie making, but there's not a whole lot we learn in these early or any time really about them.
Interesting.
Beyond that anyway, isn't that right, Michael?
Yeah. Well, Violet is when we come to this strip here, this is not anything at all like Violet was the year before.
Yeah.
And so I think he was taking the little romance element and deciding he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's making Charlie Brown too normal.
Well, yeah, and that's also interesting because it still takes that idea of, all right, we're just taking these adult type relationships and switching it to kids. And sometimes it's going to have unpleasant overtones and sometimes it's going to work. Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, because he definitely, even with Shermie and Patty in the really early strips, there was an element of it that he was thinking this is like a cute strip about like kids having crushes on each other.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's super fruit. Well, obviously he didn't either because he went in basically every other direction.
Mhm.
And you'd think, okay, this is something that he's growing into until you remember what the very first strip of this comic strip
That's
ever
true.
was.
Mhm.
You know, that is a shocking opening strip.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if he got to pick number one, but he probably did.
Yeah, we did.
You know, I mean, when you do all the things for the syndicate and you send in a bunch of samples, who knows?
And they're
maybe,
numbered with his handwriting. So
oh, so there it is. Okay, so that's a really, really strange strip to come out with in 1950 out of the gate, a strip about kids. And it's not what's being sold, right? It's not what they sold to the papers. They
No.
sold kind of a cipher of a strip, you know,
Yeah.
what is a space saver?
Yeah.
What is this? You know, it looks a little different, maybe a little modern, but what he's doing there is striking. And it's totally in line with what Michael's picked here.
And then you see again in the second strip with Patty, you know, even more pronounced with it being a girl, where she just comes down the street and, you know, socks a kid right in the eye.
Yeah. While singing her own praises.
Yes, that's what little girls are made of. All right. Well, what do you think? Should we just get to these comic strips?
Let's do it.
Jump in.
All right. Well, if you characters out there want to follow along, there's a couple things you need to do. The first thing you got to do is go over there to unpackingpeanuts.com and sign up for the Great Peanuts Reread. That will get you just one email a month letting you know what we're up to here so you can read these strips at your leisure and follow along with us. I said a couple things, but really that's the only thing you need to do. Just one thing. So you do that. And when you come back, we'll be right here on March 28th, 1953. Charlie Brown, Patty, and Violet are outside on a beautiful spring day. And Violet says, "Would you like to join our club, Charlie Brown?" And a happy Charlie Brown says, "Why, sure, absolutely. I'm very flattered that you should ask me." And then Patty and Violet confer amongst themselves off to the side. Patty whispers, "Psst, huh?" And then Violet says, "Uh-huh." And then they walk away from Charlie Brown saying, well, Patty says, "We just took a vote. You've been rejected."
Okay, first of all, they planned this
Oh, yeah.
before the panel won. They knew what they were going to do. So this is.
I think it's funnier if they didn't.
Yeah, because why would they do the pss, pss, pss
Yeah.
They're putting on a little show.
Well, that's definitely what we're, one way to interpret it. And it's probably right, but I really think it's funny if they just, hey, let's get some people in a club. Oh, there's Charlie Brown. Do you want to be a club? Then they confer and go, yeah, not him.
Nah, yeah.
Yeah, because you'd think from Michael's take on this, you'd think that Violet might be upset, or excuse me, Patty might be upset with Violet for bringing it up if she has that opinion.
Right.
But she is smiling.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She's smiling, but if someone invites someone into a club and they don't want them to be in the club, she'd be mad at Violet, right?
Yeah.
You might see it. You know, she'd be like, What are you doing?
Yeah.
But they do seem very simpatico no matter what.
Yeah.
They're a team.
This is planned. By the way, Schultz made a very strange artistic error. I would never say this normally, but in panel 3, there's a line from Violet's chin that runs directly into Patty's chin. So it's like the same line. It's a tangent, which is foreboding.
Yeah. And what happens is when you see what Michael's talking about there is right where Patty's cheek and ear kind of meet Violet's. And yeah, you're supposed to avoid that where two things on one plane, the lines touch because it makes that weird negative shape between their heads and you can't tell where one thing ends and the other begins. The way to avoid that would be in Photoshop, you cut out Violet and scooch her over a little bit towards the left so that it looks like
I
Patty's
wonder why I
slightly
didn't do
behind her.
that.
Yeah, you don't think it's creating them as the Borg or
There's a
You're
little of
like
that to it.
Siamese twins there.
Well, I relate to this strip. This is what this makes me think of. In like 2003, I heard from a network that was interested in Amelia as a TV show. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I sent a bunch of packs of this stuff to them. And then a couple weeks later, I got a call going, and they were like almost annoyed that they're calling me. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to do this. You need to have more in it than just kids like running around. And I'm like, you called me. I didn't look for any of this. So they reached out to me just so that they could reject me.
I'm sure that's what happened.
I'm certain it is.
Well, you should use that in one of your autobiographical comics.
One of the jokes we got in our household is whenever we're at some event that's like super timed, or you just have this weird sense that you're here for commercial reasons for their purposes, and they have the welcome, and then as soon as it's over, it's like get out. So it's
Get
like,
out.
welcome, get out.
August 31st, 1953. Charlie Brown and Patty and Violet are outside. Charlie Brown has just started that one book he will be trying to read for the next 50 years. Patty says, you're crazy, Charlie Brown. And Violet, with her hands on her hips, says, yes, you're crazy, Charlie Brown. And then Patty says, and you talk too much. Violet agrees. Yes, you talk too much. Charlie Brown's just enduring this with his eyes closed as they surround him. Then they stand up, and Charlie Brown's still sitting there, and Patty says, and you've got a funny face. And then Violet says to Patty, say, you and I have a lot in common, don't we? And then they walk off just as happy as can be, with Violet saying, we both dislike the same things about Charlie Brown. And then Charlie Brown's sitting there in the background, and he just sighs to himself. A classic singer.
So this is it's kind of the origin story of their little team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that another tangent for you, Michael?
I don't see any tangents.
Violet's finger touching Charlie Brown's ear in the far distance in the fourth panel.
Oh, a little bit.
Yeah.
He's cramped. In these little
I
panels.
mean, these are tiny little panels.
Yeah. But anyway, this should come before the other one, because it really, so it looks like this is the first time they realized that.
At long last, the origin of the Patty Violet.
Yeah, really.
Not a dream, not an imaginary tale. You will gasp in amazement.
I have to say, those two little lines for closed eyes in the second panel for Charlie Brown, also seems like a really modern choice. Like, who else did that when someone was just taking abuse, verbal abuse? Is that
you would imagine they'd be like hunched up or scrunched up or somehow, you know what I mean? He's just like enduring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good word.
February 24th, 1954. It's a snowy day, and a trio are out in a field somewhere, and Patty says, this is a wonderful picture of you, Charlie Brown. And then her and Violet look at it together with a beaming Charlie Brown looking on, and Violet says, I think so too. It's the best you've ever had taken. And Charlie Brown's like over the moon at this point. And then Violet says, it's a wonderful picture. Absolutely wonderful. And Patty says, uh-huh. And then Violet says, it doesn't look a bit like you.
Oh.
No, they both say it. I just noticed they both say
in
it.
unison.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
All right, what do you guys think of that? That's a good gag.
Yeah, it's a great gag. Sort of makes you wonder if this is another thing they planned.
Yep.
Yeah, if they're saying it simultaneously, either that or they really are simpatico.
Yeah.
And there's a Christmas tree in panel 2 and a full background in panel 3.
I love that background in panel 3. It looks so nice.
Nothing in panel 4. It's just the gag.
Yeah.
he's particularly proud of this one because he's spending a lot of time embellishing
maybe.
it.
Well, I mean, it's a great punchline for sure. Absolutely. My gosh, I love the two panels 2 and 3 of Charlie Brown, but particularly 3. It's just so great.
Mhm.
I wonder how much he was experimenting with these backgrounds, just like even 3 years in, going, all right, I'll put a really detailed one in one panel and kind of see what it's like. How does that affect readability? I mean, because realistically, it does. I mean, clearly, like panels 2 and 4 are the easiest, most readable things in the world. And, panel 3, if you're just like glancing, does gray out. But it's just so
but it is a wonderful picture. I mean, that one says what Violet is saying.
Yeah.
What do you
look
think?
At that.
Yeah.
Wow. Whoa. That blew my mind. It's so meta.
She's commenting on her.
Well, I think this is the weird period, though, with his profiles. I don't like the Pac-Man mouths like you see. I don't like either of the mouths in the last panel. Either of the mouths within the realm of Schultz. If I did a panel that good, I would, tattoo it on my forehead. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I like later versions of the profiles better.
What do you think of his choice in telling this gag? He's in the first panel, he's surrounded by the two of them. Then he's off to the left for the next 3 panels. Why? So he could have placed Charlie Brown anywhere he wants based on what he's done here. Why do you think we see him first in the last panel and then the two of them speaking versus his response, which is pretty blank, isn't flipped so that he's the very last thing we see?
I mean, if we go back to our last episode, it would imply that they're an impediment to him. They're going the opposite way of the reading. So it actually stops you and you feel a jar subconsciously, perhaps.
So it's going against the grain.
It's going against the grain.
It's kind of like also that C.C. Beck.
You're flowing
thing.
through.
Yeah.
You're flowing through, right? And then suddenly you're going the other way.
Yep.
But, the other thing is that just practically, you have to get Patty and Violet together to look at the picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and you have the issue.
But they could do that on either side, though. They could be doing it with Charlie Brown looking from the right?
Yeah, but it could. But I'm just saying, he could have done it and then got to the 4th panel, and that's just where they were.
That's where they were. Yeah. No need to redo it. Yeah. But you're right. It does create an extra tension of them just standing in front of him, and he's facing right and they're facing left.
What do you guys think of the little shading he would do on these early strips, like on the coats and stuff?
It's nice. It's quite a contrast from the faces.
Yeah.
They're so iconic.
Yeah.
Pre-Zipatone.
I like Charlie Brown's little jacket. Actually, I like all their little coats.
I like Patty's hat.
Yeah.
Yes, would that be considered? That's not a beret. It covers her head there.
Yeah,
very cute.
I think it's a beret.
Oh,
I just think that's how he's drawing it, but I think it's a beret.
Yeah, and the fact that they are all dressed so smartly somehow, leans into the idea. Oh, people are trying to look nice in a photo, and people dress up and want to look smart.
September 20th, 1954. Patty and Violet are outside playing with something.
Fuzzball.
Is it a doll or a fuzzball or a fuzzy ball?
It's a ball of fuzz, basically.
All right. And Charlie Brown really wants to be part of this scene. So they're out there playing with a giant ball of fuzz. And Violet says, "You can't play with us, Charlie Brown, because your dad doesn't make enough money." And this outrages Charlie Brown, who says, "My dad makes more money than your 2 dads put together." And then Violet says, "He does?" And then there's a beat panel as they both look at each other. And then Patty says, "You can't play with us, Charlie Brown, because your house isn't painted green."
What is with Patty's face in that first panel? Was that done later?
That's
She
smug.
looks
This is
the
he got out of
broad
control with the
smile.
chins.
Mm.
Yeah. Well,
That's
she
smug.
looks like she should be on the side of like a box of safety pops or something.
Yes.
With the gigantic kid smile. And look at the smile on Violet.
In the last one?
A little smug. It's like her mouth is almost up to her eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I think that is a doll's head.
Yeah.
Makes more sense than Fuzzball.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
by the
I
way,
didn't think it was a ball of fuzz, but
wait, a barber can't make much money.
No, but I'm
So is
glad
he-
he's standing up for himself.
But is he lying?
Yes.
To say it looks like they
I think
believe
he's a
him.
kid. He has no idea what the hell's going on. They don't know either. They're just saying things. You know what I mean? Charlie Brown and none of the 6-year-old kids or whatever would have any idea of what their parents make.
Okay, but we can assume that their parents aren't rich, though.
No, I wouldn't think so. But I would imagine Patty and Violet would have to be doing better than just a barber, I would think.
Well, I don't know if we've ever brought this up. I mean, we don't have a ton of detail in these little neighborhoods, but what are these guys? Upper middle class neighborhood? What does it feel like? I feel middle class, but
yeah,
slightly lower middle class.
Well, 1950s middle class, which is different from now.
True.
Yeah, the house
because
only
there was a
costs
middle
$5.
Class. That was the big
The
difference.
house only costs $5,000.
Oh,
so.
that's expensive. My father's house cost $3,000.
Yeah, and
Wow.
that's from the army loan that the father took out.
Yeah, the GI Bill, which is what all these little houses that you see in Peanuts are all from real life suburbs in the U.S. that lots of guys coming home from World War II would get the GI loan and be able to afford these little houses, little tract houses.
Yeah. Now, some houses were really crammed together. That's one thing you don't get the feel of in this strip. They seem to have large yards,
giant rooms, actually,
which kind of suggests Midwest, right?
Yeah.
A lot more space than you might have in New Jersey or Massachusetts or whatever in 1950, but a lot of open spaces. And then, of course, his experience is Minneapolis growing up, and then he's in an incredibly spread out area in California, drawing most of this.
Yeah. All right. Hey, so that puts us about halfway through the strips we have for this episode. So how about we take a break, come back, and we'll check the mailbox and then read some more Patty and Violet Mean Girl strips.
Sounds good.
Great.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. You've heard us rave about the Esterbrook Radio 914. And what episode would be complete without mention of the Fab Four? Now you can wear our obsessions proudly with Unpacking Peanuts t-shirts. We have a Be of Good Cheer pen nib design, along with the four of us crossing Abbey Road, and, of course, Michael, Jimmy, and Harold at the Thinkin' Wall. Collect them all, trade them with your friends. Order your t-shirts today at unpackingpeanuts.com/store.
And we're back. Some hanging out in the mailbox, Liz. Do we got anything?
We do. It's been a while since we've done the mailbag, and so we've got a bunch today. A friend of the show and longtime listener, Paul Hebert, writes, "Hey, gang, I just wanted to thank you for giving me so many insights into Sparky's work. I wrote a little bit on my Doonesbury blog about Peanuts and how it influenced Gary Trudeau, and I couldn't have done it without what I learned from y'all." And he sends us a link, which I will put in the show notes, of his article on his blog that's titled, "A World Where Rage Was Funny and Insecurity Was Loveable. Peanuts, Doonesbury, and the Long 1960s.
Cool.
Great.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Now, did Gary Trudeau write one of the intros to the 2 years of book Fantagraphics series?
I don't know.
I kind of think he did. Anyway, you probably know that if you did. But I do believe there's something out there. It's just cool to see cartoonists speaking on other cartoonists that were really seminal in that era. What their takes are, what they focus on.
And then we heard from Brandon on Spotify, who points out that we made a mistake. He said,
"No, we didn't.
Yes,
You're
we
a
did.
mistake, Brandon. You're a mistake."
No.
Dead to rights.
In our newsletter, we ask people to point out any errors that we make. And thank you, Brandon, for
I did
telling
not
us.
sign off on that. I would never. Can you imagine?
3 against 1. Okay. He's responding to something we said in the Understanding Snoopy #2 episode. And that the Sunday ice skating strip that we say is from December 15th, 1960 is actually January 31st, 1960.
Dope.
Otherwise, your comments are spot on, describing the greatness of Schultz's expressive art.
Wow. Well, thank you for seeking that out for us. That's not easy, sifting through 17,897 strips to find out where we might have misplaced you.
But sad, I will now spend the rest of my life inventing time travel to go back and change it so that your efforts are wasted. No, just kidding. Thank you so much for letting us know.
We could just, if you, Jimmy, say January 31st, 1960, and I can insert it into that.
Right. Okay. January 31st, 1960.
All right.
Sorry, Brandon. We don't know what you're talking about. We got it right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also on Spotify, we heard from Lee, who writes, maybe you don't know this. Oh, and he's talking about 1958 part 2. So he's gone back to the beginning and is listening to everything. Maybe you don't know this, but parochial school students, Catholic, were taught to write with the pen in the mid-1960s. Unfortunately, I have poor handwriting to this day. I went to parochial school for 3 years, and then I left and went to public school where there was no penmanship instruction at all.
Are you saying like a dip pen or a fountain pen or a ballpoint pen?
I remember that all the Catholic school kids that I knew when I was growing up had gorgeous penmanship. They had perfect Palmer method penmanship, and you could always tell where they came from if you saw something that they had written.
So is he saying that the method was being taught for? I mean, obviously they had to teach us in public school, like how to do cursive.
Yeah, I know. If I may, as someone who has some small experience with the parochial school system.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, you guys learned how to make letter forms. We learned how to make script that would please the baby Jesus.
Okay.
And this is why you were nominated, I'm sure.
Oh, no, here, I'll tell you. 4th grade. So so you start learning in 2nd grade, and they teach penmanship all the way through 4th grade. Well, you were well aware of how to write, but you are just learning penmanship so that it's proper Palmer method. And then every week, you would get a paragraph, and you would have to copy it out in perfect Palmer method and send it to the old nuns at the nun home in Immaculata, and they would judge it. And then, and then one kid would win a prize. And I struggled with the Palmer method, and Mrs. Ike in 4th grade said to me, "Well, the one thing we know is you'll never win a penmanship award." Oh, yeah?
Little does she know.
Well, no, she did know, because I won the next week, because there was no way I wasn't going to not win the next week. The next week looked like it was printed by a machine. It was so perfect. And I just did it just to be a smug little jerk, and then I went back to my own terrible handwriting.
And then we're nominated for how many Eisner Awards?
Or best letter now. But you can't use the Palmer method. I don't think anyone would be able to read it.
No, well, that's impressive. I think I told the story. I think the only time I was ever judged on penmanship with a grade was when we moved from Rochester, New York to Columbia, Missouri. And I was there for just a few weeks, the last of 5th grade. And it was a crazy thing. We were unpacking, and I completely forgot about the assignment. Just come into the school. Teacher says, turn in your assignments. And I have nothing. And I'm literally writing it while she's collecting the papers. And that was the only thing she had to judge my penmanship on was that thing I wrote in like three seconds to have something to turn in. Got a B- in penmanship. It was not so bad given what on earth I was trying to scrawl out on some lined paper in the 30 seconds I had.
Well, I mean, now
it's super memorable.
If someone looked at my notebooks, they would think I was a serial killer. There's just no question about it. I mean, it just looks like complete outsider art.
I'm still baffled by doctors The doctors who
I
write
think they
prescriptions
try.
that are like life or death, what they tell that you give, and how does somebody, let's say, in CVS pharmacy, how many doctors are sending things over, and how on earth are they in figuring out what this doctor is prescribing that could kill you if it's the wrong dose? And it's in the most unreadable script ever.
Michael, did you ever learn Palmer method?
No. Well, matter of fact, I can barely. When I'm handwriting, so I'll just fall into like block letters in the middle of a word.
No, I do that now too. Yeah.
I never heard of Palmer method until just this moment. So.
Oh, really?
Oh, serious? That's the classic cursive, beautiful.
Yeah, it is very beautiful.
We had it up on the wall over the blackboard.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm sure that was the Palmer method.
Yeah.
They didn't have some lousy public school version of it. That was like the Dollar Tree method or whatever.
And we heard from Spider Stomper again, who writes to us on YouTube, and he comments on the Sidekicks #4 Shermie episode and writes, I recall in one video where Schultz was talking at UCLA in 1971, and a person asked, what happened to Patty, Violet, and Shermie? He said something like, they're straight men. They're there to set up a gag when another character has too much personality in it. I guess he figured any other character had too much personality to set up the peanut butter sandwich strip. And then John Marullo writes about the same episode on the Shermie episode regarding the March 22nd, 1966 strip where Charlie Brown is having lunch with Shermie, and Charlie Brown tells Shermie if he has to ask why peanut butter is the perfect sandwich to eat while looking at the unattainable object of one's affection, then he'll never understand. My friend Liz hit the nail on the head. Thank you, John. As to why Shermie, whose appearances were already few at this point, was used instead of another character. Linus would understand. So would Schroeder. Like Charlie Brown, they both are very sensitive. All three would be considered nerdy by today's standards. And all three have obsessions and neuroses Shermie just doesn't have. The only other boys in the neighborhood at this point are Pigpen and Five, neither of whom fit either. In short, Shermie is a normal kid. No wonder he didn't last. Also, he's a hypocrite.
Just a normal hypocrite.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, Shermie, gotta love Shermie. I mean, absence makes the heart grow fonder too. That definitely helps. Shermie's been a very special icon in this this podcast.
Absolutely.
And last but not least, we heard from Wally, who sent us a whole bunch of wonderful questions. But the only one I will read right now, and we can consider it, is what would you have done? He's talking to you guys. What would you have done to Shermie, Patty, and Violet that would have kept them in the comic for longer instead of gradually disappearing?
Well, not being Schultz, it's a little hard to tell. He did add a bunch of characters. Sally came in and Frida came in, and I guess they had more personality than. I mean, if Patty and Violet were not evil monsters, they probably didn't have much going for them outside of that, because they're pretty much straight men. After 56, like I said before. Yeah, but he had Frida to play with, he had Sally to play with, and then Snoopy just started dominating the strip. I think he got them because.
But what could you have done to make them stick around?
Well,
could you have changed them?
Well, I would have kept the Mean Girl thing because I thought it was hilarious. And I think it is weird to have two characters with the same name in a comic strip.
Yeah.
And once Peppermint Patty came in, Patty was doomed. Yeah, you couldn't have two Patties.
Except McDonald's does.
Yeah, that's true. Violet stuck around a lot longer than Patty was basically killed by Peppermint Patty. Violet didn't have much to do. He needed straight people. He needed some to feed the lines, create the situations. And Violet the last 20 years, that's all she did.
Well, here's what I think, though, too, also. Looking at these 1953, 54 Patty and Violet strips, they feel hyper modern in terms of 50s. This feels like a 1950s strip. I mean, obviously, thematically and quality wise, it's eternal, but I'm just saying, with what the content is. I think once Frida, Sally, and Peppermint Patty especially come along, they seem like 60s people. And it just is the 60s now, And I think you have to also look at it not just as like, well, I could bring this back and bring that back because it's good or bad or whatever. Time has passed, 15 years have passed. And not like, I mean, right now, the difference between, 2026 and 2011 is minimal culturally, sadly. But between 1954 and 1968 or whatever, holy cow, it's night and day. And I think those three characters just fit the zeitgeist more.
When I look at Patty and Violet here and look at Schultz, if we were to do it, it wouldn't be Peanuts, right? That's the
well,
trick.
we would do it worse for sure, no matter what we did.
But the reasoning of like why did Schultz leave these behind? I mean, those are all good points. I think one of the things about these two, as they stand, and I think Schultz got more and more uncomfortable with, possibly as he had children, I don't know, was that these two could be cruel and be unrepentant and get away with it. And I don't think he was comfortable with that. I think if Schultz were to keep these characters, he would have had to find vulnerabilities for them like the other characters did. Have some what's their unrequited love? What's their, maybe they could have been maybe from the 50s and they were not fitting into the 60s like they used to, which you can't do because over time these kids are timeless. So it just gets kind of weird. But he would have had to find something in them where, because Schultz was for the underdog. That was just certainly a theme in this. He certainly let the characters sometimes get away with some terrible things and they just hang there. But that's also kind of the power of the strip. I think for his own sake, he needed to find something in them that he could find that was showing their
and he did find that with Lucy.
Vulnerable side.
Lucy has all of this attitude and, forthrightness and no nonsense and meanness, but she also loves Schroeder and is bad at baseball. And like she has, is trying to teach Linus things, but doesn't know anything. That's like so much richer that I think, but also did this. I think she was just more like just a more economical solution, really,
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a fascination with these two that they are getting away with being cruel in this little community, and it lasts for a while, and then Schultz is like, I'm not comfortable with this anymore. That's kind of the vibe you get. He's like, I just, how can I do this and be comfortable in this little space I've made?
Well, with me, like my characters in Amelia, there were these two bully characters at the beginning, Bug and Iggy, that I just eventually just wrote out. Not wrote out; they're always around too. But it's could be just as basic as like, oh, I can't think of anything else.
Right? Yeah, the more two-dimensional they are, unless I mean, there's tons of cartoons that have two-dimensional characters, Bluto or whatever. Right. It's just the same thing over and over again, but that wasn't Schultz,
No.
Yeah.
So that's it for the mail. Do you have anything on the hotline?
We do. We heard from Captain Billy and Shaylee Robson, but then my iPad died. So we're good. It's a cliffhanger. We're going to get to them next time.
Oh, dear.
But if you guys want to be a part of the show, there's a couple different things you can do. Go over to unpackingpeanuts.com, sign up for that reread, figure out what we're going to be talking about. If you have something you want to say to us, you can email us at unpackingpeanuts@gmail.com. Or you could just comment wherever we post our stuff on social media and on YouTube. So I'll give you the litany of that stuff at the end of the show. But we'd love to hear from you because remember, when I don't hear, I worry. All right, let's get back to the strips. July 24th, 1955. It's a Sunday, and it starts off with Snoopy doing double dutch with Patty and Violet. Or maybe it's just jump rope. But anyway, he's jumping the rope and they're holding it on either end. And he's flipping upside down and he's smiling because he's soaring above them. And now he's doing like a happy dance. And now he's out of control. He's all over the place. And then wham, he lands on flat in his back because he just had too much excitement while he was doing the jump rope. And then Patty and Violet look at his forlorn, decrepit form as it just lies there, smoking on the ground. And then Violet looks at Patty and says, well, what do you think? Shall we do something else for a while? And then they walk away with Patty saying, we might as well. Let's go over to my house for some lemonade. And then Snoopy kind of gets it together and then thinks to himself, when will I ever learn?
That could be Charlie Brown's line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great strip. What would you think if this strip, the third tier, had 3 panels, the first 3?
Mm.
I think it works because that's the gag.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like an epilogue. And he has a second gag.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Why, Michael, why do you think he tacked those last 3 on?
Well, it becomes a Snoopy strip.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And, Snoopy is the most popular character. Without those last 3 panels, it's a Patty and Violet strip, which I think is just as good. But he definitely wanted to see what Snoopy's take on this was, which is kind of weird. I mean, he's blaming himself
Mm-hmm.
rather
Right.
than blaming
Mm.
them for being heartless.
Yeah, he's not even
Right.
so much worried that they're leaving. He's just more upset that he lost control and hurt himself. Right? Because they're not doing anything that made him crash. He just,
Mm-mm.
right? He just lost it.
Yeah, trying to show off or something.
And he doesn't essentially even react to them leaving, I think. Or not as much as he does to the fact that he knocked himself silly.
That's really interesting. And this seems to be kind of like a transitional strip in a way, in that their casual cruelty is not the joke. It's not the focus, really. Other than he's apparently done this before.
Yeah.
And they have no trouble setting him up to do it again. They get their entertainment and then they head out. So in that way, it's kind of something he's been through before, and he knows they're just going to leave and they're not going to do anything different this time than they did before. But
Right.
yeah, it's an interesting strip. I mean, and this goes back to, I think, what we see in the last 45 years of the strip. There's more and more emphasis on, instead of letting the cruelty just kind of hang there, he focuses in on the one who suffers the most.
Yeah.
And lets them have the final say. And I think that is something that makes this a unique strip. I mean, that it's a strip of empathy. And if you look at the first 4 or 5 years of the strip, maybe not so much. It's there quite a bit. You feel for the characters getting put down. I think that's always there, but it seems like he really does focus in on it. And maybe that's why we lose Patty and Violet, because they're it's just a little too black and white here. And as we go through the remaining strips, it'll be interesting to see, are they getting the last laugh? And you could be laughing with them. You could be laughing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There just seems to be this focus on the person being hurt that is unique to Peanuts, that we relate to Peanuts, and changed comics from here on out. It's like the sufferer is the one who's going to get a little bit more attention.
Yeah. Side note, but I really always like Patty's dress, the little chain link fence pattern, the argyle pattern.
Yes.
So cute.
I was just appreciating her rosemary bow in her hair.
Yeah. August 22nd, 1956. Charlie Brown is getting yelled at by Patty who's saying, "You're dumb, Charlie Brown, and you're useless." And by the way, as this is happening, Violet's walking up from the distance. And then she reaches the other two, and then Patty turns and says to her, "Say, what time is it getting to be?" And then Violet says, "I think it's almost noon." And Patty says, "I have to go home, I guess. Why don't you take over?" And then Violet steps right in and says, "You're stupid, Charlie Brown, and hopeless." And Charlie Brown just looks at us like, "Can you believe this?"
It's a good team. I mean, these guys really work together.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of that Warner Brothers cartoon where it's the sheep, or it's the wolf and the sheepdog or whatever. And they clock in.
Right.
Very funny. September 1st, 1956. It's the Golden Three out there in a field, and Patty says, "Isn't it amazing?" And she continues, "We both have the same dislikes about you, Charlie Brown." And Charlie Brown just looks slightly stupefied by this. Patty continues, "She dislikes the same things about you that I do. Isn't it amazing?" And then as they walk away, Patty says, "We should have uniforms." And Charlie Brown just sighs.
It's the team spirit.
Yeah.
I have heard this joke used many times.
Really?
Yes. And I wonder if this is where it started.
Mm.
Like, any random group of things. We should all get you. Oh, we all like broccoli on our pizza.
Oh,
We should
right.
get uniforms.
Yeah. I have heard that.
Yeah, and this is so 50s versus, like you're saying, like the late 60s. This, hey, we're we had the same mind on something. That's wonderful. Versus, hey, I'm doing my own thing. Let my fake flag fly or whatever.
Yeah. This is the conformity police, right? Exactly.
But this was the same thing that they said in the 1953 August 31st strip, that we both dislike the same things.
And it kind of rounds things out because there aren't too many more of these.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever say what it is?
What
like,
is?
I mean, he's hopeless, but they don't really list, like Lucy would go in and get through, list all his faults.
Well, he's the Charlie Brown.
Well, you're useless and stupid and...
Oh, I think, that's barely registered.
That's nothing.
He's got a funny face, unlike Violet and Panel 3.
Well, it's interesting. We were talking about, Liz, what's changed today, and certain words have been determined just unusable. And I think stupid is one of those ones that's been questioned heavily.
I would say it's beyond question. Like I don't know about right now, but like when my kids were in school, that you might as well have said like the S word or something. It was just not.
Oh, it is the S word. Stupid.
Yeah, the other S word.
Silly? No. Yeah, I love the smile on Violet. It's kind of this little happy, almost smug. I mean, you look at like panel 2, that makes me think of really early Lucy. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of drawings of her with that big, tight smile.
It makes me think of Matt Groening.
Uh-huh.
It looks sort of like a Simpsons face.
Yeah, I can see that.
With that over bite.
So what do you think, Michael, of that third panel where now you got Patty's hand going into Charlie Brown's chin, and now he's deciding to have a little white rim around it so he doesn't get that
Well,
touching.
that's a tough decision to start doing that. A lot of people do that, but you got a small panel with 3 characters, and there's not much you can do unless you made them smaller. There's not much you can give a little more space to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in certain spots he doesn't mind things touching, and I think that again that's interesting that Patty and Violet as a unit, they're touching almost tangentially, like you were saying in panels 2 and 4, but because they're a unit, maybe he wants it to look like they're they're
a unit.
They're the same, yeah.
September 14th, 1956. Patty and Violet are sitting on a curb, and Patty says, "People should be more kind to each other." She continues, everyone should try to be gentle and considerate. And Violet agrees, that's true. And then Charlie Brown appears from the ether right next to them with a very pleasant smile on his face, shocking them both. And then they yell at him. Patty yells at him, but Violet's right there backing her up. Get out of here. Can't you see we're talking?
Oh.
Yeah, this isn't quite the same gag as the other ones. They're hypocritical. I guess that's the joke. It's not so much aimed at him. It might have been anyone, but probably not.
This really also, to me, feels like a Schultz entering the strip thing and on literally making Charlie Brown appear out of thin air just to test their resolve. And of course, they fail immediately.
And just seeing that first panel takes you back to that very first strip from October 2nd, 1950.
Uh-huh.
They're sitting on the end of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But instead of seeing him from far off, he just like poof appears right next to them, which assaults their sensitivities.
It makes it so much funnier that you don't see him at all, and then suddenly he's there.
Yeah.
Like I could pick like Monty Python. You wouldn't do it on air, like you wouldn't do it like point, like he appears, but you could edit it in a right way that he's been here the whole time. If this were animation or whatever, But within the strip, the way Schultz does it now, it just kills me.
Yeah.
But another just artistic thing I was noticing on Violet, you see it in the first panels. Actually, this is maybe true for everything, but you really notice it in panels 1 and 2. And we talked about Snoopy and how his back, he doesn't violate the arc of Snoopy's back from a profile. So his little hind haunches might be like 20% of the size they should be so that they don't bulge out from the back.
Right.
It's true for Violet's, the puff of her sleeve. It's like you get this straight line going down on her back, and it's almost like this UPA kind of Picasso-esque curve on the front of her arm, but then the back just drops right into the line of the back of the arm, upper shoulder, goes right into the back of the character, and so it makes this incredible silhouette that's unbroken. And I hadn't noticed that before. I'm assuming he's doing it all the time, but it just as a cartoonist, I'm like, okay, he is taking some detail away so that something seems a little smoother, a little more iconic. And that's his choice over what would have realistically been drawn.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he loves keeping those silhouettes perfectly clean, which is smart because you can really identify these characters in really, really tiny pictures.
Yeah. Now, she does let the Rosemary bow go slightly out in the first panel, but other than that, on the hair.
For those of you who are perhaps slightly younger and you don't get that reference, that Rosemary is a wonderful actress who played Sally on the Dick Van Dyke Show, which we talk about a lot.
Mm-hmm. And there's a fantastic documentary on her. She lived to ripe old age, and they came out with a documentary just a few years ago, and she was involved with like the mob performing in Vegas, and it's a very interesting story. If you want to check her out, Rosemary.
Yeah, she's a hoot. I followed her on Twitter before she passed away. That was great. All right, our final strip, December 4th, 1959. Charlie Brown approaches Patty and Violet outside, and they both look annoyed, but Patty says, well, what are you doing here? And then they both launch into him. Go on home. We don't want you around here. Who asked you to come by in the first place? Nobody. Go on home. And then Charlie Brown walks away with his head hanging low and the cloud of miserable despair over his head. And then Violet says, it's a strange thing about Charlie Brown. You almost never see him laugh.
Oh. Oh. Oh, man.
Well, this might be one of the last Mean Girl strips. I didn't go past this, but There hadn't been any for like 2 years. So
Wow.
this might be his final statement. They're so oblivious.
Yeah. Yeah, and they just one panel later, and it doesn't occur to them that they are the cause for Charlie Brown's misery.
Maybe that's supposed to be the right response.
Yeah,
Why didn't you just take that in playful stride, Charlie Brown? The fact that we, in unison, assaulted you verbally.
Now you'll see, like from between 1954 to 1959, now he's got the classic Peanut side mouths. He can do them. If you look at Violet in that last panel, she just looks like Violet as opposed to like the Pac-Man mouth she had a few years ago. It's crazy how long it takes you to get it. Well, you never get settled. It's crazy just how it shifts and flows over the years.
Do you prefer this version of the mouths, including the T-Rex mouths they've got in panel 2?
Yeah, I like the T-Rex mouths. Yeah, I think they look good.
Michael, does this one feel more intense to you than the other strips?
Are you talking about the gag or
no, the vehemence or the strength of how it comes across, of how
I think it does
being.
because of that first panel, the expressions on their faces. That's meaner than some of the previous
ones.
I
think it is the T-Rex mouths in panel 2 and the giant lettering for the whole panel.
Yeah.
That's intimidating. I mean, it would kill me.
Yeah, me too.
2 people were doing that. Just one.
Can you imagine?
One wouldn't do it, but 2 could do it.
Yeah, and they're on both sides of him, and Schultz draws Charlie Brown's head pointing at both of them in that classic double motion way. Yeah. It's strong. I mean, it's interesting that, Michael, you're saying this is kind of the end of it, and yet it's not petering out. It's almost like it goes so far, he's like, I can't go there again. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, this might be the most severe of all the strips because I mean you can see he's destroyed. That little black,
oh my God,
tangled in the balloon.
Yeah, previously he's just had a grimace. So, but this is his emotions.
And then again, it's going to this whole empathy thing. When you just look at that lone Charlie Brown and panel 3, it's you feel something. It's just devastating.
And the thing
that's so unique
about him. You never see him laugh is kind of like the laughter of little children strip.
Yeah. And Michael, as we know, when was Charlie Brown laughing in the strip the most? It's like the first few years.
Yeah, first few years.
Well, he was the jokester. He was like a prankster.
And it's like they took it out of him.
They took it out of him. It really does feel that way when you read it in totality, yes. Which is sad.
Yeah. That they helped make the Charlie Brown we know for the next 40 years.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that is total despair, panel 3. Just amazing. I can, to lighten it up, I can never, and I try it because sometimes you just got to try it. But the double face thing from panel 2, I just can't do it right. It never looks right.
It's hard. It's hard. I want to ask the group, given what we're seeing here, can you remember a time when anything close to this happened to you?
Nope, never happened.
I would say yes. There was a weird period in 7th grade where my friends just decided they didn't like me for like months. And I don't know why or what, like even to the point, like they wrote like graffiti on the fence by school, like by the school with my name on it and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
These were like my best friends.
Wow.
But it was this bad.
Yeah. And there is that kind of blood in the water thing. Like we were saying, if one kid seems to get something, a vulnerability or an angle on somebody, it's always, the nicknames. Everyone takes on that nickname that's just, you wish you didn't have. And you as a parent try to name a child something that is nickname proof and there's no way to do it.
Can't be done. Yeah.
They're going to find something to say. And sometimes we just, I had I had this occasional tormentor here and there, but they were on their own. It was just one-on-one, and it was more subtle and more, the kind of subtle insulting. Like you don't have a clue of what's going on, which I didn't.
Right.
But to have two people just yelling at you from both sides in unison, and it's like it's me, right? It just feels like
It has to be
majority rule. They're right,
right.
I'm wrong, or this is terrible. And then you see that in Charlie Brown from that's who he becomes. He's like,
and there's nothing he can do about it. They just don't want him there. Like, oh, your dad doesn't make money. Oh, then your house isn't green. Oh, your house is green.
There's no defense.
You're wearing a yellow shirt. It doesn't matter. We just don't want you here.
Yeah. So, Michael, did you just lay low for the most part and not get in the radar of
this is why I strove to be invisible.
Yeah.
That was my tactic.
Yeah. But you did.
I would not walk up to two people who were. Look at panel 1. Okay, he knows these girls hate him.
Yeah.
Yet he walks up and stands there.
Yeah.
Why would he do that?
Right. So you just avoid that. That's the best policy if you don't want to experience this kind of stuff.
You go to your room and you lock the door. That's what you do.
Well, it's so funny that Charles Schulz said many times that he felt invisible when he was in school, that he was so plain that nobody noticed him. And here he is with a character that I'm sure he relates deeply with. And it's almost like he's putting his fears and his, sense of not fitting in. And it's like, this is what they're really thinking if they notice me. But the intensity of, oh yeah, we notice you, but we don't want you here. Get out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a deep, deep felt, thing that I think a lot, we all can relate to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Liz, you said very quickly, no, you never had that type of a setting where the people around you chose you to be singled out as treated poorly and ganged up on.
I was lying. But as we're discussing this, I am appreciating my cousins when I was in grade school and my dear friends that I'm still friends with when I was in high school who gave me the love and support so that if and when people were teasing me or cruel, I had people who loved me too. So
were they on the spot? In other words, when this would happen, like at school or whatever, did you have those allies nearby, or did you have to kind of go home or go somewhere else to get that support?
I only remember one solo cruel situation where somebody made fun of me when I didn't realize. I thought that we were having a friendly conversation but we weren't, and she was laughing at me.
Oh gosh!
But
was it just the two of you? There was not an audience.
Yeah, no, there was no audience. But one memory out of however many years it's been is I chalk that up as pretty good.
Yeah, that's a pretty, and we know. Well, our listeners, for those of you who've been in this situation, maybe you've been Charlie Brown, or maybe you've been Patty and Violet. If you want to get it off your chest, you can share your stories and how you relate to this particular strip. Love to hear from you. If you want to do some mea culpas publicly, you're more than welcome to step in, because I know there's all sorts of stuff that
we are not
we all
professional
regret.
psychologists.
We are not medical professionals. But what I will say is I also was not a meek Charlie Brown. So I took up a lot of space psychically and people. So and when it came at me, I gave it back, so that maybe that is escalation and prolonged it. So, I'm just saying, don't pity me. Who knows? I may have had some culpability. But that's it. All right. There's more Mean Girls to come, and you got to hear from Shaylee and Captain Billy when I charge my iPad. So you guys come back in 2 weeks when we're going to do that. It's going to be a lot of fun. In the meantime, remember, sign up for the Great Peanuts reread over at Unpacking Peanuts. You can email us at unpackingpeanuts@gmail.com. And if you don't do that, I'll worry. There's a bunch of social medias you can follow. But again, my iPad did die, and I'm not charging it clearly until the end of this episode. But you can figure that out. And until next time, this is Jimmy for Michael, Harold, and Liz saying, be of good cheer and don't be mean.
Yes.
Yes.
Be of good cheer.
Be of good cheer.
And don't
be mean.
Right.
Unpacking Peanuts is copyright Jimmy Gownley, Michael Cohen, Harold Buchholz, and Liz Sumner. Produced and edited by Liz Sumner. Music by Michael Cohen. Additional voiceover by Aziza Shakrala Clark. For more from the show, follow Unpack Peanuts on Instagram and Threads. Unpacking Peanuts on Facebook, Blue Sky, and YouTube. For more about Jimmy, Michael, and Harold, visit unpackingpeanuts.com. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening.
I forgot to say it.
Say it.
Be of good cheer.
And?
And team up with somebody if you're gonna try to destroy a person.
Yeah. It takes two, baby.